Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses West Asia developments with Iranian President Pezeshkian, stresses peace and stability as talks between Tehran and US see no breakthrough. Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on her 3-day tour to India, also to attend business forum. South Africa's anti-migrant protesters marched nationwide as unofficial deadline for illegal migrants to leave the country without papers comes into effect. Europe's struggle with heatwave continues. Hungary, Slovakia hit new temperatures. On the other hand, Canada grapples with wild weather from flooding to extreme heat. In FIFA World Cup, Haaland and Mbappé delivers another brace as France rout Sweden in the knockout round, while Erling Haaland steers Norway into the last 16 with a 2-1 win over Ivory Coast. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Dr. Masoud Pezeshkian. President Pezeshkian briefed the Prime Minister on the recent developments in West Asia and the way forward. Prime Minister welcomed the understanding reached and reiterated India's consistent position that all issues must be resolved through dialogue and diplomacy. Prime Minister reiterated the need for continued efforts to ensure lasting peace and stability in the region and for safeguarding freedom of navigation and commerce. India and Japan are expected to focus on cooperation in the Indo-Pacific as well as new projects on critical and emerging technologies as Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi arrives on Wednesday on a 3-day visit for the 16th India-Japan Annual Summit. Takaichi's visit is expected to set the course for ties over the next decade, especially against a backdrop of the conflict in the Persian Gulf region. Prime Minister Takaichi will be accorded a ceremonial reception at Rashtrapati Bhavan. She will then hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders are expected to review progress in bilateral ties and discuss ways to further deepen cooperation across key sectors. This will be followed by the exchange of memoranda of understanding and joint press statements. Later, Prime Minister Takaichi will participate in the India-Japan Business Forum at the national capital. The summit will provide an opportunity for both sides to review and strengthen the full spectrum of bilateral cooperation and exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. This is Prime Minister Takaichi's first official visit to India. In particular, the Japanese Prime Minister will discuss the new version of Japan's Indo-Pacific policy, which she unveiled in May this year during a visit to Vietnam. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal continues to hold high-level meetings in Greece. He met Minister of Infrastructure and Transport Christos Dimas and discussed enhancing India-Greece cooperation across infrastructure, transport connectivity, maritime sector, aviation and sustainable mobility. Piyush Goyal said that he looks forward to advancing deeper collaboration to build resilient supply chains and further strengthen connectivity between India and Europe. The visiting minister also held productive meeting with Minister of Economy and Finance of Greece, Kyriakos Perakakis. The discussions, in fact, focused on strengthening India-Greece economic ties through enhanced cooperation in financial services, fintech, digital payments and emerging technologies. The two leaders also explored avenues for deeper collaboration between the institutions and also businesses of both the countries for shared prosperity. And now we take a look at some of the significant aspects of India-Greece trade ties. India and Greece are actively expanding bilateral trade, aiming to double it to $4 billion by 2030. According to official data, India exports to Greece were valued at $1.19 billion in 2024, while imports from Greece stood at $170 million. Driven by a strategic partnership, economic exchanges heavily feature Indian exports of machinery, electronics, and aluminium, while importing petroleum products and raw aluminium from Greece. As the two countries aim to double bilateral trade by 2030, new avenues for investment collaboration are being identified, with an emphasis on pharmaceuticals, renewable energy, agriculture, digitalization, and maritime connectivity. Earlier, India's Unified Payment System or UPI had officially gone live in Greece, marking a significant milestone in the global expansion of India's digital payments ecosystem. This move marks a pivotal step in India's ongoing efforts to scale its digital public infrastructure on a global level.
India's premier digital payment gateway, the Unified Payments Interface or UPI, has expanded its reach into southeastern Europe, officially going live in Greece. The rollout, driven by a partnership between Greece Eurobank and NPCI International, will enable Indian travelers to execute instant and secure digital payments across the country. Announcing the development, Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal stated that the initiative will empower eligible users to make frictionless transactions. He added that transaction costs will be drastically reduced to a mere fraction of conventional international transfer fee. Minister highlighted that the increasing global acceptance of UPI reflects international trust in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of building technology led solutions. He emphasized that these solutions create value beyond borders and deepen international partnership for shared growth and prosperity. With Greece joining the network, UPI's international footprint has now expanded to 10 countries. The indigenous digital payment system is already accepted in Singapore, UAE, France, Mauritius, Nepal, Bhutan, Qatar, Sri Lanka, and Cambodia. The recent steady expansion across Europe aligns with New Delhi's broader strategy of exporting its robust digital ecosystem to global markets through institutional partnerships with foreign banks and governments. Earlier, Commerce Minister also addressed the India-Greece Business Forum at Athens. Minister Goyal emphasized the immense potential of the upcoming India-EU trade agreement in unlocking fresh avenues for trade and investment. Minister also highlighted India's resilient economic trajectory, noting that the nation continues to register remarkable growth despite persistent global headwinds.
We offer to you a trusted partner. India grew by 7.7% in the year just ended 31st March 2026, making us the fastest growing large economy in the world. In fact, in the last quarter, January to March 26, despite a very turbulent geopolitical and global situation, India continued to power on with 7.8% growth in that quarter.
With the successful deployment of world's largest real-time payment platform in Greece, New Delhi and Athens have further consolidated their long-term strategic partnership. Their renewed ties reflect a deeper, comprehensive transformation in bilateral ties spanning across the digital economy, trade, investment, and enhanced people to people connections. Tripti Tripaঠি's report for DD India.
The Digital India program has become the backbone of public service delivery, financial inclusion and digital innovation. As the program completes 11 years today, it reflects a decade of empowering citizens through technology and building the foundation for a Viksit Bharat by 2047.
From long queues and paperwork to digital governance at the click of a button, Digital India has transformed the lives of millions since its launch in 2015. Affordable internet, expanding broadband connectivity, and digital infrastructure have brought government services closer to citizens. Today, digital platforms are powering healthcare, education, banking, and welfare delivery, making governance more transparent, efficient, and inclusive across the country. The Digital India program has strengthened public digital infrastructure through initiatives such as BharatNet, common service centers, DigiLocker, eHospital, eSanjeevani, and MyGov. The Jam Trinity, Janadhan, Aadhaar, and Mobile has revolutionized financial inclusion and transparent welfare delivery. Direct benefit transfers worth over 49 lakh crore rupees have reached beneficiaries directly, eliminating leakages and improving service delivery. India has also emerged as a global digital powerhouse. UPI now accounts for nearly 49% of global real time digital payment transactions, while the country's digital economy contributes nearly 12 to 14% of GDP. Electronics manufacturing has grown significantly, making India the world's second largest mobile phone manufacturer. At the same time, digital platforms such as Diksha, Swayam, PME Vidya, and AgriStack are expanding access to education, agriculture, and digital public services. Digital India is also preparing the nation for the future by promoting innovation, entrepreneurship, and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and cybersecurity. Skilling initiatives like PMG Disha, Future Skills, Prime Minister, and the Skill India Digital Hub are creating a future ready workforce. As India moves towards the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, Digital India continues to drive inclusive growth, technological self reliance, and citizen empowerment across the nation. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
India is marking GST Day, celebrating the ninth anniversary of the Goods and Services Tax, a landmark reform that transformed the country's indirect tax system. Introduced in 2017, GST replaced multiple central and state taxes with a unified framework, creating a common national market under the vision of one nation, one tax. Over the past decade, the system has evolved through digitalization, policy reforms, and stronger center-state coordination. The next generation GST reforms introduced in 2025 further simplified the tax structure with fewer tax slabs, easier compliance, faster refunds, and measures aimed at supporting households, MSMEs, farmers, artisans, and exporters as well. The Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Grameen Act 2025 came into force across rural India from Wednesday. The national launch of the Act will be held on Thursday. The Act replaces the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. The new scheme, designed with a focus on employment generation, creation of durable assets, and technology-driven transparency. The Act provides a statutory guarantee of up to 125 days of wage employment to eligible rural households as compared to the 100 days provided under the previous rural employment framework. Under the new framework, Gram Panchayats will now use integrated digital platforms to map existing public assets, identify infrastructure gaps, and design development works based on real-time geospatial data. Earlier, the centre on Tuesday notified revised wage rates under the new Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. The national average wage has now increased from Rs 298.8 per day under Manrega to Rs 327.4 per day under the new Act, an average increase of 28.6 rupees per day. The revised wage rates will be effective from 1st of July and have been increased across all 34 states, union territories and wage regions. Delhi government's new portal for EV incentives will be launched soon, allowing buyers of eligible electric vehicles to apply online under the Delhi EV Policy 2026. Under the new policy, verified applicants will receive purchase and scrapping incentives directly into their bank accounts via direct benefit transfer. Once the portal is ready, any eligible EV buyer will have to apply within 30 days of registration certificate generation to claim the incentives. Officials added the portal will at a later stage include real-time charging station data, authorized scrapping vendor and dealership contacts, and other policy details, while road tax and registration fee exemptions will be applied automatically during registration. You're watching DD India News. We're waiting for a short break, but after the break, Caracas Metro resumes full services even as food and shelter crisis deepens in Venezuela after the massive earthquakes. US Supreme Court upholds birthright citizenship, rejecting Trump's proposed limits aimed at crackdown on illegal immigration. Greek spectators revel under the special June strawberry moon over the historic cliff-top mountain at Cape Reunion. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited occupied southern Lebanon on Tuesday and said that Israel would not leave southern Lebanon until the threat from Hezbollah had been removed. His visit came days after a US-mediated security agreement under which Israel is expected to hand over 2 areas to the Lebanese army. Netanyahu said Hezbollah still has thousands of rockets and missiles, while Israel maintains its military presence in a buffer zone along the border despite a ceasefire agreed earlier this month. US envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner have arrived in Doha for mediated talks on implementing the initial US-Iran deal aimed at ending the war in Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman has confirmed that US envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are in Doha, but there is no meeting with Iranian officials as scheduled. The Iranian foreign ministry said in a statement on Monday evening that the mine clearance work in the Strait of Hormuz will be carried out by Iran alone, and Iran will not cooperate with any other country on this matter. The Iranian statement said that the current regional situation is sensitive and complex, and that Iran strongly advised France not to further complicate the situation with provocative actions. Iran's parliament speaker Ghalibaf said that Tehran will not begin negotiations on a final agreement until all clauses of the MOU have been implemented, including the cessation of hostilities in Lebanon and the release of frozen Iranian funds, among other provisions. Earlier on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron said that France and Oman have agreed to work jointly with partners to clear mines in the Strait of Hormuz to secure maritime routes. Macron made the remarks on social media platform X after holding talks with the Omani Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, who is on his first official visit to France. South Africa is witnessing a wave of nationwide anti-immigration protests, with thousands of people marching to demand the departure of undocumented foreign nationals amid growing economic and social tensions. Police were deployed across the country as citizens-led groups staged demonstrations after setting an unofficial June 30th deadline for undocumented foreigners to leave. The weeks-long campaign has reportedly forced thousands to flee and has claimed 4 lives. The protests come as South Africa grapples with unemployment of over 30%, rising crime and strained public services, while protest groups accuse undocumented migrants of taking jobs and accessing public resources. Venezuela is facing a deepening humanitarian crisis after 2 powerful earthquakes killed nearly 2,000 people and left tens of thousands in need of food and shelter. The 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes, among the worst disasters in Latin American history, have claimed 1,943 lives and injured more than 10,500 people. Search and rescue operations on the sixth day are nearing an end, and nearly 6,500 people have been rescued from the rubble, while food shortages and the collapse of basic services have witnessed worsening conditions in the worst hit areas. Rescue teams also pulled a 3-year-old boy alive from the debris 6 days after the quakes. The UN has appealed for nearly $15 million in aid as health authorities warn of disease outbreaks, and assessments indicate that nearly 59,000 buildings have been damaged or destroyed. Meanwhile, Caracas Metro has resumed full commercial operations after authorities completed the safety inspections. Metro services were suspended as a precaution after a 5.2 magnitude aftershock on June 29th, days after massive rare earthquakes. The underground network had briefly resumed operations on June 28th before the latest aftershock forced another suspension. Following comprehensive safety assessments, commercial services were restored across all lines and stations on June 30th. Under Operation Amistad, the Indian Army Field Hospital in Venezuela continues to provide medical assistance to people affected by the devastating earthquake. The medical team treated a 79-year-old survivor who was rescued from a collapsed building with a fractured leg and severe complications caused by delayed medical care. The army doctors, in fact, stabilized her condition, initiated advanced wound treatment, and are providing daily follow-up care, reaffirming India's commitment to humanitarian assistance and solidarity with the people of Venezuela. In other news, the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected Donald Trump's attempt to restrict birthright citizenship in the United States to end the 150-year-old policy. The 6-3 decision, Chief Justice John Roberts ruled that children born in the U.S. to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment. The justices upheld a lower court's decision that blocked Trump's executive order directing U.S. agencies not to recognize the citizenship of children born in the United States if neither parent is an American citizen or legal permanent resident. Trump had issued the order last year on his first day back in office as part of a suite of policies to crack down on illegal immigration. The U.S. Supreme Court has cleared the way for states to impose restrictions on transgender student athletes, upholding laws in Idaho and West Virginia banning them from female sports teams. The justices overturned decisions by lower courts, siding with transgender students who challenged the bans in the two states as violating the U.S. Constitution and a federal anti-discrimination law. The Idaho and West Virginia laws designate sports teams at public schools, including universities, according to biological sex, and bars students from the male sex from female teams. 25 other states have similar laws on the books. Idaho and West Virginia said that the laws preserve fair and safe competition for women and girls, while critics see the measures as part of a broader assault on the rights of transgender Americans. The U.S. Commerce Department has lifted export controls on Anthropic's Fable and Mythos AI models less than 3 weeks after the company was ordered to suspend access to its most advanced AI models over national security risks. Washington has stepped up oversight of new model releases to identify potential threats amid concerns that advanced AI models could be misused by military intelligence users in China, Russia, or other countries of concern. Anthropic had abruptly disabled its Mythos 5 and Fable 5 models following the export control order on June 12th. On Friday, the U.S. government allowed it to release Mythos 5 to some trusted U.S. organizations, partially reversing the order. The United Kingdom has unveiled a major defense investment plan aimed at modernizing its armed forces, as experts warn that Russia could invade a NATO country as early as 2030. Outgoing Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced a sharp increase in defense spending with focus on drones and nuclear deterrence, while scrapping some spending on roads and energy.
In a significant increase in the defence budget, outgoing UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced that the country would spend almost $397 billion over the next 4 years to modernise its armed forces amid rising threats. This marks almost $19 billion rise in defence budget, with more than $6 billion allocation for drones. It is part of the long-awaited 10-year defence investment plan.
And we will build an army that is 10 times more lethal, with attack drones flying alongside our Apache helicopters, a new fleet of surveillance drones collecting intelligence and finding targets, and a surge in low-cost one-way attack drones, which have proved so effective in Ukraine.
Starmer added that the plan would also strengthen UK's nuclear deterrent and a programme to build a next-generation stealth fighter jet while boosting job creation.
We're creating a new £50 billion defence export facility to support British defence businesses to compete, to create more jobs, pride and opportunity up and down the country. That is the largest expansion of UK export finance support in its 100-year history.
NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has welcomed the plan, saying it was a good step towards reaching the 3.5% of GDP on defence agreed in The Hague last year. With European nations under pressure from the US to do more to defend themselves, NATO allies agreed to increase defence spending by 2035. The overhaul also comes as military officials warn that Russia could attack a NATO country as soon as 2030. Bureau Report, DD India.
In Peru's presidential runoff, Keiko Fujimori leads the final count after the country's electoral authority finished tallying 100% of the vote after weeks of reviewing contested ballots. The final tally shows the conservative Fujimori with a lead of 50.35% to leftist Roberto Sanchez's 49.865% votes. Fujimori welcomed the conclusion of the drawn-out vote count, and in a post on social media said that she would await the National Electoral Jury's announcement with great humility, prudence and responsibility. Fujimori had already achieved an unbeatable lead in the race last week after authorities spent weeks reviewing contested ballots from June 4th runoff. Fujimori, who is set to assume power on July 28th, will be the country's 10th president since 2016. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. In Syria, traditional artisans are showcasing handcraft products at Syrian Village Festival, blending centuries-old craftsmanship with modern designs. The festival serves as a platform to promote heritage industries, expand market opportunities, preserve traditional professions and celebrate the creativity of Syrian craftsmen while keeping the country's cultural identity alive. In Yemen, an art exhibition in Taiz is celebrating the country's rich folk dance traditions through paintings inspired by traditional performances from across its governments, hosted at Al Sakia. Space, the exhibition aims to document and preserve Yemen's cultural heritage while highlighting the diversity and significance of its traditional dances. In Greece, the June strawberry moon rose behind the ancient temple of Poseidon, creating a striking spectacle over the historic cliff-top mountain at Cape Sounion. Named for the traditional strawberry harvest season, the full moon illuminated the 5th century BC temple overlooking the Aegean sky, drawing attention to one of Greece's most iconic landmarks. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, witnessing near record rainfall, Ghana reels under massive floods. Stay with us for a quick weather update from across the country as the Met Department forecasts an active monsoon phase ahead. Helicopter services to Kedarnath temple have been suspended during the monsoon session.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India NewsHour. A quick relook at the top stories now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses West Asia developments with Iranian President Pezeshkian, addresses peace and stability as talks between Tehran and US see no breakthrough. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on her 3-day tour to India, also to attend business forum. South Africa's anti-migrant protesters marched nationwide as unofficial deadline for illegal migrants to leave the country without papers comes into effect. Europe's struggle with heatwave continues. Hungary and Slovakia hit new temperatures. On the other hand, Canada grapples with wild weather from flooding to extreme heat. In FIFA World Cup, Kylian Mbappé delivers another brace as France routs Sweden in the knockout round, while Erling Haaland steers Norway into the last 16 with a 2-1 win over Ivory Coast. Let's get to global weather updates now. Temperatures in Europe have reached new highs this summer, with unusually intense early summer heat waves linked to more than 1,300 excess deaths. In France, temperatures have eased slightly from record highs, but still remain near 30 degrees Celsius across much of the country, with reports of at least 1,000 excess deaths linked to the heat wave. The National Weather Service has stated that temperatures are expected to rise again over the weekend and remain high into the next week. France's Public Health Authority reported that deaths have increased in both nursing homes and private households. Mortuaries in France have reported being overwhelmed by urgent requests seeking refrigerated storage for bodies following deaths linked to heatwave. Funeral services are under significant strain, with limited storage capacity leading to delays in burials and cremations, while authorities are considering additional temporary solutions. In Hungary, police and firefighters sprayed crowds with water cannons to help residents and tourists cool off during a severe heat wave. Emergency services turned water cannons into public cooling system to help people cope with extreme heat, with locals and tourists gathering to enjoy the spray and final relief. Romanian residents sought relief from extreme heat as people flocked to pools, fountains and shaded areas to escape temperatures. From flooding to extreme heat, Canadians on both sides of the country are grappling with wild weather ahead of Washington's Canada Day. In fact, that is on Wednesday's Canada Day holiday. In Toronto and other parts of eastern Canada, dangerously hot conditions prompted Environment Canada to issue a heat warning and urge residents to stay alert and take precautions. Temperatures in parts of Ontario and Quebec are expected to reach 34 to 37 degrees Celsius on Wednesday and Thursday. In Western Canada, heavy rainfall has caused flooding and dangerously high stream conditions, prompting evacuation alerts. In the United States, New York City will enter a heat emergency beginning Wednesday, with dangerous temperatures expected to last through the weekend. Temperatures are expected to reach 30 degrees Celsius to around 40 degrees Celsius, and humidity could make it feel like about 44 degrees Celsius. Authorities have activated a heat emergency plan, urging people to stay indoors, with over 500 cooling centers opened in libraries, senior centers, community spaces and health facilities. Persistent drought in the U.S. state of Colorado has dried out reservoirs, damaged ecosystems and increased wildfire danger across large areas. One of the hardest hit sites, the Two Butts Reservoir, dried up in early 2026 after years of declining water levels. Once a popular recreation area for fishing and boating, the dry lake bed has now been repurposed for wildlife support, planting as officials attempt to support remaining animal population. In Croatia, firefighting aircraft were deployed along the southern coast on Tuesday to contain a wildfire that broke out near the coastal town of Orebic. Croatia has been under extreme heat, with authorities issuing red weather alerts for several regions as high temperatures and dry conditions have increased the risk of wildfires. In Ghana, at least 12 people have died and 7 remain missing after torrential rains flooded large parts of the country, including the capital. About 39,000 people have been affected and many have been forced to leave their homes. The government said it is mobilizing emergency funds for relief and recovery with about $31 million to address the crisis. Authorities said search operations for missing people are ongoing, while officials continue to assess the extent of the damage. Accra received 169 millimeters of rainfall in a single day. Now, this is the 4th highest rainfall recorded since 1995. Accra often floods during the rainy season, made worse by poor drainage, illegal building on waterways and weak urban planning. While in India, heavy rainfall continues to affect several parts of the country as Met Department forecasts an active monsoon phase following the formation of a low pressure system over the Bay of Bengal. The IMD has warned of very heavy to extremely heavy rainfall over Konkan, Goa, Madhya Maharashtra and Gujarat between July 2nd and 4th. Active monsoon conditions are also expected over parts of northern India in the coming days, with authorities advising people in vulnerable areas to remain alert for waterlogging and localized flooding. Heavy rainfall lashed several parts of Mumbai, leading to waterlogging in Wadala East Shanti Nagar area and affecting normal movement in the city. A flash flood triggered by a cloudburst was reported near the Jispa area in Lahore and Spiti district of Himachal Pradesh following heavy rainfall in the region. Amid an orange alert for July 2nd and 3rd, dense clouds have gathered over Mandi town, indicating changing weather conditions in Himachal Pradesh. Authorities said the Beas River is currently flowing at its normal level, with no signs of flooding or any unusual rise in water so far. Union ministers are reviewing the flood situation across the northeast. Minister of Development for Northeastern Region, Jyotiraditya Scindia, reviewed the overall situation on Tuesday and assured full support from the centre for rescue, relief and restoration efforts. The minister spoke with the Chief Minister of Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim and Manipur to assess the situation in the affected states. Assam remains among the worst hit states with floods reported in 6 districts, while Arunachal Pradesh has witnessed flood impacts in 12 districts. Sikkim and Manipur are also facing adverse weather conditions and Meghalaya remains on alert. The Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region said that it is closely monitoring the situation and coordinating with state governments and central agencies to provide timely assistance. While Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan also reviewed relief measures as he visited flood-hit areas in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh On the directions of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Shivraj Singh Chauhan held a high-level review meeting in Guwahati to assess the impact of floods on crops, villages and infrastructure and also discuss further assistance. He also visited flood-affected Kai Panyor district in Arunachal Pradesh along with Union Minister Kiran Rijiju and Chief Minister Pema Khandu. Our correspondent Subina Roy is joining us to get us more. Subina, good morning. We've told our viewers that Northeast is reeling under heavy rainfall and flood-like situation. You're there in Assam. Tell us, how has the morning begun?
Yes, as you can see, good morning. First of all, Preeti, as you can see, it's already drizzling and it has been raining off and on in the entire Northeast for the past few days. And due to sudden cloudbursts, especially in Arunachal Pradesh, the Kenny Penyor district was almost many of the colonies were washed away, like in Nipko colony, which the Union Agriculture Minister, along with Union Minister Kiran Rijiju and Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu, visited the regions out there in Kenny Penyor district, which is, I think, the most affected districts. Apart from that, many of the national highways in Arunachal Pradesh have been affected. The national highway from Assam, that is Gopur to Itanagar, has been disrupted due to these heavy floods. And other roads, strategic roads to Zero Valley, to Anini, to Dambuk, these are all our national highways in Arunachal Pradesh. They all have been disrupted. Connectivity has been disrupted due to this heavy rainfall, which has resulted in heavy landslides. And then comes downstream, because these are the waters which come downstream and flows through Assam to form the Brahmaputra. So the nearest district is Dhemaji, and it is the most affected district of Assam as of now, as alone in Dhemaji, over 40,000 people are affected. So to talk about some of the villages which are most affected, it is Sisirborh Gaon village, then Jonai. These are some of the villages, there are small river islands which have been affected, which have been inundated. And there have been a lot of infrastructural damages as well, Preeti. As you can see on the visuals, this is the picture of the railway bridge on the river, which got partially collapsed. And this comes under the Tinsukia subdivision, where it connects to Murkok Siling. This is one of the last stations of Arunachal Pradesh. So rail connectivity has been disrupted. Then rail connectivity to Silapathar, which is like on the north bank of Assam. In Dhemaji district, that has been affected, and the railway services have been stopped for a certain period of time. And apart from that, one of the iron bridges, Kemai Iron Bridge, then there are other bridges, culverts, embankments, which have been damaged due to this outburst of rains and heavy floods. And yes, Preeti.
All right, Subina, so that was a quick update on the damage that has been caused. But then what has been the forecast by the IMD on the days ahead?
Yes, Preeti, the forecast has been that it is yellow alert for today, and for the next 1 to 2 weeks, it is going to rain. As Assam, the Northeast, in fact, is witnessing the first wave of floods for this season. And as it is, the southwest monsoon has arrived, and as it hits the eastern Himalayas here in Northeast, so it rains heavily here in this part of Assam and in fact, the entire Northeast, Preeti. So in the next coming few days, we are going to expect rains.
All right, Sabina, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those updates from Assam. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. A mock drill was conducted at the Budgam railway station, Jammu and Kashmir, to assess emergency preparation and strengthen coordination among disaster response agencies. The exercise simulated rescue, evacuation and medical response procedures to enhance readiness for disaster and security-related incidents. Helicopter services to Kedarnath temple have been suspended during the monsoon season and are likely to remain halted until the end of August. More than 65,000 pilgrims have used the Hell shuttle service since its launch in April this year. The core safari zone of Satpura Tiger Reserve will remain closed from July 1st to September 30th for the monsoon season as part of wildlife conservation and visitor safety measures. Buffer zone safaris will continue during the closure, while core area tourism is set to resume from 1st October. Children in Tumbasoge village of Mysuru took out a traditional frog procession and performed rituals to pray for rainfall amid a prolonged rain deficit. The procession was followed by offerings and prayers to the local deity Marama, seeking good rains for the village. You're watching DD India News. We're waiting for a short break, but after the break, several financial changes will come into effect from today, that is 1st of July, across India, including ITR filing and passport fee. Stay with us for the latest from Wimbledon. In spite of a roaring welcome on her comeback, Serena Williams ousted in the first round by Maya Joint. And we get you glimpses of traditional wine battle festival of Spain.
This week on Defense Dynamic, how India's first AI-piloted fighter concept, FWD Supreme, is redefining the future of air combat. As the MCA enters its decisive phase, the battle to build its indigenous engine is gathering pace. And how the Indian Air Force is building a layered air defense shield with the Nebo UM radar and indigenous Netra airborne early warning and control in guarding the skies. Watch it all this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. Several financial changes will come into effect from 1st of July, that is today, across India, impacting taxpayers, bank customers, credit card users, passport applicants and Aadhaar holders. From changes in credit card benefits and passport charges to new RBI rules against mis-selling, here's a look at the key changes. Taxpayers filing ITR 1 and ITR 2 for financial year 2025-26 must submit returns by July 31st to avoid late penalties. Late filing penalties range from 1,000 to 5,000, affecting tax regime choices and loss carry forwards. UIDAI waives the 75 rupee fee for updating registered email addresses via its mobile app starting July 1st. The online email update facility will remain entirely free for 6 months until December this year. Standard passport fee increased to 2,500 for 35 pages and 3,500 for the 60-page booklet. Tatkal passport charges raised significantly to 5,000 for 36 pages and 6,000 for 60 pages. The RBI introduced a strict framework protecting customers from bank mis-selling practices. Customers who are sold products through misleading practices will receive full refunds and compensation for financial losses. Banks must restrict all promotional and telemarketing calls strictly between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. HDFC Bank updated its eligibility criteria for complimentary domestic airport lounge access on select credit cards. To receive 3 free lounge visits in a quarter, cardholders must spend 60,000 rupees the previous quarter. SBI Card has revised the reward point structure specifically for its select PhonePe SBI credit cards. The new changes introduce monthly caps on reward points and expand the list of excluded reward transactions. Bringing relief to restaurants, hotels, eateries and other businesses, the prices of commercial LPG cylinders have been slashed. Following the easing of tensions in West Asia, the price of 19 kg commercial LPG cylinders has been reduced across the country by 183.5 rupees from today, that is 1st of July. With the reduction, a 19 kg cylinder will cost 2,930 rupees in Delhi from today. Further, prices of 5 kg free trade LPG or the small non-domestic 2 kg or 5 kg LPG cylinder has also been reduced by 13 rupees from today. 5 kg FTL will now cost 808.5 rupees in Delhi. This marks the first reduction in commercial LPG rates in 2026. Let's get to business updates. Microsoft is planning to cut under 2.5% of its workforce in the latest round of layoffs that could be announced as early as next week, as reported. US companies have continued to trim headcount in recent months with a fresh wave of layoffs across the country. In fact, across the technology, media and finance sectors as firms rein in costs while investing heavily in AI infrastructure. Across the technology sector, Meta announced plans this year to cut 10% of its workforce, and Amazon laid out plans to eliminate roughly 16,000 jobs globally. After business, we'll now turn focus to sports. We will talk of FIFA World Cup first. Kylian Mbappé delivered another brace as France rout Sweden in the knockout round, while Erling Haaland steered Norway into last 16 of the FIFA World Cup with a 2-1 win over Ivory Coast. Mbappé took his tally for the tournament to 6 goals, making him joint top scorer alongside Lionel Messi with a superb double as France strolled past the Swedes 3-0 at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The prolific French striker's latest brace took his career World Cup goals record to an incredible 18 in 18 matches. This is one behind Argentina superstar Messi's all-time record of 19 goals. The victory sends France into a last 16 duel with Paraguay in Philadelphia on Saturday. Earlier, striker Haaland fired Norway to their first ever World Cup knockout win in a 2-1 defeat of Ivory Coast in Texas. Haaland swept in an 86-minute winner to slam the door on Ivory Coast's hopes of a fight back after Amad Diallo had equalized for the Africans following Antonio Nusa's opener for Norway. The Norwegians, beaten in both of their previous opening knockout round appearances in 1938 and 1998, will face Brazil in the last 16 on Sunday, with a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs. On to tennis now. Serena Williams returned to competitive action amid huge fanfare after a 4-year absence, but the American icon could not overcome the first hurdle at Wimbledon. She was beaten 6-3, 6-7, 6-3 by Australian Maya Joint. The 44-year-old wildcard was denied the chance to become the oldest woman to claim a singles match victory at the All England club since Martina Navratilova in 2004. Joint, who was not even born when Williams won the first 7 of her 23 Grand Slam singles titles, claimed the biggest victory of her career on centre court. Defending women's champion Iga Swiatek overcame a wobble to reach the second round with a 6-1, 2-6, 6-3 win over American Taylor Townsend. Meanwhile, 41-year-old Stanislas Wawrinka bid goodbye to fans in his final Wimbledon appearance after a marathon 6-7, 7-6, 7-6, 7-6 defeat by Matteo Berrettini. American 4th seed Ben Shelton was dumped out in the first round of Wimbledon by Finland's Otto Virtanen, missing a match point before losing in a 5th set tie-break. The 23-year-old Shelton, an All-England club quarter-finalist last year, suffered his first opening round defeat at a Grand Slam since the 2023 French Open. Virtanen prevailed 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 6-2, 7-6 in a match lasting nearly 4.5 hours. Thousands gather in Haro, Spain for the La Rioja wine battle. Armed with buckets, spray bottles and water pistols, participants douse themselves with wine in the traditional festival from Spain's leading wine-producing region. Take a look. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Now, this app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.